Hello everyone and welcome back to today's video. So today we are going to be covering DFS namespace, and then we're also going to touch on the replication as well. I have two servers that I'm going to configure in real time for you so that you can see. So DFS is distributed file system or file service. It's a great way for you to replicate files across the domain using multiple servers, where you can configure like high availability and load balancing across your documents and files without it affecting like your users and so forth. And if you want to read up more about it, you could check out the Microsoft guide, and there's lots about DFS and how it works. I like to set this up in my organization because I feel as if it's a great way to organize your files and the structure as well. So without further ado, let's get started. So these two servers are joined to the domain already, and they both have an IP address that's pulling from the network as well, so they can communicate with my domain controller. So that's something important that you need to make sure that you have. Just TTPs before we get started. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add roles and features onto both sides. And like I said, I'm going to try to do both boxes at the same time. Hopefully it's not confusing. But this is the two servers. So file server 01 and file server 02. This is a .20 and that's a .19. Right? So we're going to configure both of these together. So under file services right here, this is where you're going to click the drop down, and you're going to look for DFS namespace and also the replication. You can install these separate, but once you start working with DFS, it's a good idea to do them both. Now it does require a file server to be also installed, but one of the good things is that once you click on DFS namespace, it also selects the file server as well. And then I'm going to also do the replication piece together as well. So with both of these, I'm going to drop down and we're going to do DFS replication, add features, then we're going to do DFS namespaces as well, and click next, and click if we need to install, restart, and we're going to go ahead and install. We're going to let these two run through and install itself, and we should be right back here shortly. Okay, so now that both of them are installed, we can go ahead and click close, and then this is actually complete for the install. I'm going to go ahead and blow up one of these boxes so to show you a little bit bigger on the console now that we're going to configure the namespace. So under tools, you can go to DFS management, and we'll start here, and we're going to click DFS management for the setup piece. And the first thing we're going to do is create our namespace. So as you look under here in the namespace, there's nothing there, right? So you can go to the right and click new namespace, or you can also go over here and click new namespace as well. And then here, it needs a server that's going to host the namespace. There's multiple things you can do. You can put this on your domain controller or one of them to host the namespace, because the domain controller also is a part of the domain, which is a great way. Or you can use one of the server. We're going to go ahead and click browse, and we're just going to go ahead and do locations. Actually, the location is fine. Where did it go? So DFS management, I think it disappeared on me. There we go, new namespace here, and we're going to click browse, advance, and then click find now. And I need to log in. And you can see that I have lab DC01 and these two controllers. So I can use my DC01 to host the namespace, or I can use my file shares to host the namespace. It really doesn't matter, but in this video we're just going to go ahead and click FS01 to be the host. We're going to click OK, and we're going to click next. Now the name for the namespace is going to be pretty much the full path that you'll use for your server. So what we could do, you want to give it a name, but make sure it's not a name that's similar to the actual share folder that you have or you will create later. So for here, example is public. You can just do something like I can just use public as well, just for this example, and we'll call it that. Click next. This is fine. It's not a standalone. It's going to be under domain. So we're going to go ahead and click next. And you can review the namespace settings here and everything, and then we're just going to go ahead and click create. Okay, so this has been successful, and we can click close. Now when you go to the drop down, you can see here, if you right click and you go to properties, you can see the fully qualified name, which is going to be actually the namespace name that will be hosting our DFS. So if you want, you can literally go to Windows and you can copy this path, properties. You can copy this path right here and then go to Windows R for run. And you can paste this pathway in here and click OK. And it should take you now to actually the DFS namespace for public, which you can see right here. So that means this public namespace has been created and it's ready to go. So this is currently empty just because we don't have, or we haven't added any file shares to the namespace. So we're just going to go ahead and minimize this. We can click cancel that. And what we're going to do, we're going to go back over to our server manager dashboard, and we're going to go ahead and click in file and storage services. And then from here you can see that we have shares right here. Inside we have the dispos or whatever, and underneath you can see here that we have our DFS and it's created. So now we can go ahead and click on new share, and this is the location that you can use to create a new share. So we're going to go ahead and just click on quick and click next. And then from here, as you can see, this is a C job. This is also the F job that we created earlier. So we're going to go ahead and we can select the volume, or we can just do the custom path, which is right here. I like to click browse, and we're going to go ahead and click on F, which is a file share. Select that folder. But let's go back to browse. I want to create a new folder here. So let's go ahead and create a new folder. And we're just going to call it share. Select that folder. So F share is selected. There you go. And then we're just going to go ahead and click next. This is the name, the share name. You can give it a description if you choose to. Leave it the way it is. I'm going to enable access-based enumeration. We can talk about that in another video, but we're going to go ahead and click next. And then the permissions, you can customize the permissions. For now, I'll probably leave this and then do another video on setting up the permission and access control. And then we're going to click next. Everything here sounds good. Click next and create. And then you can see both of these have been successfully created, and we're just going to go ahead and click close. Now if you go back to where we were earlier, we can refresh our file share, and we should also go ahead and test it here. You can see the share folder was already created here that we just did, and we're going to go ahead and go to properties, right click, go to properties, and you can see that also the share is shared out. You can go to advanced sharing as well, and you can check the permissions here, see everyone does have permission and everyone has full control. So you can set this up based on how you want it. You can give permissions to different folks in the domain and so forth, and we'll talk about that later in another video. But for now, we just want to make sure that the file share is actually created and it is good to go. You can see it right here. Okay, so once that's done, now we can go back to our DFS management and we can go through and add folder. So the folder we're going to add right here, we need to give it a name. Basically, it doesn't have to be the same name, but for Management purposes, it's always good to kind of align the names to match up the folders, so when you look at it you can easily identify what it is. So you can go here and add, and we're going to go browse, and right here is the share. So as you can see, this was the actual share that we just created. So you can go ahead and click OK. So since that was the name share, you can name it here share, right, and just click OK. And then share is actually now a part of your namespace for not for replication, just a part of the namespace for now. Now if you take a look, and we went back to our public side where we had the name earlier from public, you will see that the share that we just created also shows up under the DFS namespace. And then when you see that little check mark, it also means that it is it's a shared folder. So what I wanted to do is, before we jump into the next phase, I wanted to go ahead and I'm going to open up this in a new location, and just side by side I want you to see this is a file share, this is a share, and then this is the share. It depends on which way you set your users. This is locally, right? So if you give out the string for your users to go in fs01/share, this is one way that you can access the share, but this will just only be directly to only one file share. Now when you're doing DFS replication and DFS namespace, you don't want to use this file share. You want to make sure that the location that you're giving out would actually be this right here. So the namespace is actually the target, which would be the share name. So this would be the name that you actually want to use for your public, right? And if you're doing a group policy, we'll cover that later. This would be the more ideal fully qualified link to share out versus giving them just a copy of your file. And the reason why is because if you have multiple servers replicating across, you don't want to give out the actual server, which is just one. You want to give it out the actual namespace pathway so that it can also replicate and share across all of those servers. Okay, so that was just a little tidbit. So anyways, going back to these share folders right here, if we take a look at the file share, once I'm in, I want to go ahead and create just a new folder, not a folder, just a new text document. And if you look over there to the right, you notice that that same file is also created. So we're just going to call this tests, right? And once I name it here, it shows up over here as well. So I'm just going to put some information in here and save it. And if I go over here, you can see that if I double click, I can see the same information here. So this is why I'm saying this will replicate across your domain, even though we haven't started replication, but this will be the actual link that you want to push out. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and minimize this, and now we're going to bring up replication. So what we're going to do is we need to make sure that we add another replication group. So we only were working with just file share on one server right now. We created a namespace, and the namespace is good. And then also the share that we were working with, this share folder right here, is on the FS01. So I want to go ahead and bring up now my second server that we installed earlier on, and we're going to be able to bring it online. And I'm going to show you how we're going to connect now this server to our DFS space. So we earlier installed the DFS replication, file store and everything is here, and the replication will also install as well. So let's go ahead and just bring this up real quick. I want to go ahead and create a new share over here, so we don't have any share. So just go ahead and create a new task. I'm going to call it share, and I'm going to use this share to actually match up to the share that's actually on this end. So same thing, similar, because now we're bringing in another server to host that same share. We're just going to go ahead and click custom so we can mimic what we created earlier. select, and I'm sorry, we need to browse, create a new folder, and we're going to call it the same thing, share, and then select that folder just as we did it the last time. Select this folder, and then we're going to click next, keep the pathway the same right there. If you go back, you can see now this is also the same share location on FS02. Click next, allow, same thing, don't worry about the permissions for now, and then we want to go ahead and click create. So now this share is now also created. So if we go back to our namespace over here, we can see that we can go ahead and add a target folder, which the target folder we're going to browse. As you can see, FS01 has the share right here, but we need to browse and add the one that we just created. So let's go ahead and add this. Oopsie. Probably typed the password wrong. Okay, there we go. So now we were working on file server 01. We need to bring our file server 02 and click OK. Click OK from here. And now it's going to share, it's going to search for those file server. Well, it should search for it, but we were on 2. Let's browse again. And if this happens, it could be because I'm not logged in properly with the right credentials. It's always best to use your domain okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and log back in correctly with the right credentials, and then we should reset. Okay guys, welcome back. So that error, I have seen it multiple times, and it's just because I wasn't logged in with the right account. So I just went ahead and logged in back as a administrator that's on the domain versus a local admin. Okay, so then I don't have to keep punching in credentials. So like I was saying earlier, let's blow this back up, and if we go to make this a little bit bigger, we want to add a target folder where we were working on. So we created a folder. We have FS01 already. So let's go ahead and browse, and we're just going to click advanced, and let's go ahead and find. Now we need to go to 02, and we're going to add 02, and there you go, we didn't get the arrow. So then this is the share folder that we created, right? And we just want to go ahead and add that, and then click go OK and add. So right now, because of the replication between the two, since we're using one share on one computer or one domain server, and we're going to now bring in another server, what we have to do is create what's called a replication group. And the replication group is going to be used to actually synchronize these folders together. So under here, after this is created, you will see the replication group created up here. So let's go ahead and click yes, because we need to have that. And then it's going to go ahead and create the replication group on both ends. So for some reason, this is taking a bit longer than expected. So what we can do, we can cancel this operation. Let's just bring up Task Manager real quick, and we're just going to cancel it and do it another way. So it seems like it's hanging somewhere around here. So let's go ahead and end it. And let's go back to Server Manager, and we can go to Tools, DFS Management, and normally it would add the additional. So as you can see, you see the share, and it added FS02. However, it was stuck on the replication for some reason. So we can go ahead from here and we can do a new replication group that was needed, and then from here we can just go ahead and fill it in. So the name of the replication group, it doesn't really matter. You can give it anything, right? The domain is fine. This is where it's at, so we're going to click next. And then you want to add the servers that will become members of the replication group. So it would have done this before for us, but it got stuck. So we'll just add these 2 servers right here. Click OK. So it found both servers right here. So we'll click next. And then the topology you want to do, we'll just select full mesh so that it replicates to the other members, and we'll click next. Full replication is needed by default, but if you wanted to select this of how or different times, you can also specify and edit the schedule. Next, so the primary server, we're going to choose the first one, which is FS01. Click next, and then this is going to be select the folder and the primary member that you want to replicate. So we'll select the first folder, which is on FS01. We'll just do a browse, and we'll go to the F drive right there, and we'll select that folder, and that is the first folder. So it says select the folder and the primary that you want to replicate. So right here, and then we'll click next. So now we need to select the folder on the replicated side, which is the other folder. So primary member is FS01, and then the primary local path is here. So now this one we'll have to edit FS02, and we'll do edit, browse, share, and OK. So it's enabled, so then this will also synchronize with that folder as well on that end. So now both of them will sync together. So then, as you can see, the replication group contains 2 members, FS01 and FS02, full mesh, and then this is how it will replicate from 2 to 1 and from 1 to 2, right? And member 1 right there, path is going to be shared, member 2 as well. And then NTFS permission, you only have to set the permission on one. So if you set it on the primary server, it will always replicate to all the additional servers as well. And then from here, you're just going to go ahead and click create, get all success, and then we click close. And this is just a delay. Will let you know that it will take a little while from contacting the Active Directory domain, and how fast your domain controller with your network and all that stuff is. Just click OK. And here you are. So we have our first replication string, our first replication group created. And if you click on it, you can see all of the files that are replicated and how they are being used. So right now, as you can see, remember in the beginning we did create some files on the main server, and we can just go ahead and do a check to see if our secondary server picked it up. So if we went ahead and minimized this and then I logged in, as you can see, this is the second server. The replication is working because when you look over here, the file share, it shows up on here. So if we go in as well to the file share on this server as well, whenever something is created on either server, so this is the file share, and as you can see, this is a share. So the replication will start here. Whenever something is done on this end, the goal is that it will replicate all the data on this once the replication begins. Okay, so now just taking a look at it, you can see that the replication now was successful because the test file just came over here, and this is the new server. This was the old server. So for real time, let's go ahead and do a test, and I'm going to create a new folder and just call it HR, for example. And now with the replication on both servers, you can see in real time now, two separate servers, no matter what I create, because the replication has begun, then whenever a new file is created, it automatically comes over here and updates itself. And it's actually pretty fast on the same network because it's almost in real time. So here you are, you can see that the DFS is actually working between the two controllers, or the two servers. So wrapping up, as you can see, this will be the share path that you'll need if you're going to push this out to your users. But as you can see between the two, no matter where you create a folder, if you do it on one side to the next, it should replicate back way. So if we did like a finance over there, as you can see, no matter where it's created, the file structure shows up. And if we did the namespace itself, like we had earlier, just by going to properties and then copying the namespace here, and then click OK. As you can see, whatever is created here, it will still go into here. So if we did, for example, just the namespace by itself, the user should only see, if they went into share, they would only see this. But if you're looking in real time and we wanted to see between the two on the file share, you can see that this is the share drive over here. This is going to be your DFS that you will use. So we can minimize all of this so you can see it in real time before we close up. So this will be the folder that everyone will work in. If you go into HR, as you can see, we see the two folders that everyone is working with. And in real time now, a regular user coming in here, creating a new folder on their end, they don't really know where location they're working on. But as you can see, right, both folders showed up. And we can add an HR folder right there again, maybe HR number 1. And as you see, real time, it syncs. The user creates everything here, but it's also syncing between the two servers. And that is DFS, folks, working on both servers for you. Your users only see one location, but in fact, your files are being synced across multiple servers. And this is one way that you can use it to keep your file structure clean, but also organize your files a little bit more better. Thank you guys so much for watching this content. I hope you learned something, and I hope it was actually useful. As always, if we can help you to do anything better, please reach out. Thank you so much, and you have a good day. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Also helps us out and helps us to grow our channel. We appreciate your time. Signing off. Ciao.